Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alec Reed. This is my channel, Alec Reads, and today we are reading Marriage, a Heartstopper fan fiction by heartstopper_fan22 on Wattpad, and we are reading chapter 63, Past is in the Past. If you hear any type of buzzing in the background, it's because where I live, it is hotter than hell itself. So if I'm hot. So if you hear any buzzing, it's a fan because I like to live. And if I don't have it on, I will have heat stroke. It has happened before in this room. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoy. Like, subscribe, and comment down below whether it's recommendations or whether it's just saying hello. I would love to talk to you guys. You guys are awesome people, and I would love to just speak to you beautiful people. So, yeah. Leave a comment, do whatever. Let's jump right into the video. Chapter 63. Past is in the past. Nick's perspective. We needed to leave the house in like 10 minutes for my appointment. I popped in the address and it's about 30 minutes from our apartment. Charlie is really concerned about us being late. He hates being late. I didn't mind being late for this appointment. I really didn't want to go. I didn't want to hear bad news. I didn't want them to tell me that I needed to take a break from Charlie because I can't do that. I won't do that. Charlie is scrubbing the dishes quickly, trying to hurry so we won't be late. He can't leave the house without doing them. His OCD isn't really a big inconvenience for me, but it is to him, and that's why I hate it so much. It only because it brings him so much frustration. Done, he says as he places the last dish onto the shelf. My mind was thinking, wow, great, now we won't be late. Nick, come on, we're gonna be late, he shouted from our front door while putting his favorite pair of Converse, mud stains and all. Coming. Charlie's perspective. Nick slowly walked over, obviously taking time and walking extra slow. He's like a kid getting dragged to their siblings' sports events. I grabbed his hand and dragged him forward. Nick, I understand this is hard, but being late will only make it more hard and complicated. He sighs, knowing I'm right, and we walk hand in hand to our Jeep. This time, I was going to get the door for Nick. I'm not sure I've ever gotten the door for him. That was more of his thing. Every time we go into the car together, he gets the door for me. No doubt about it. A puzzled look plastered across his face as I walked to the driver's side. I never drive either. I open the door and stand off to the side, holding it open for him. He walks over to the seat before sitting down. He plants a kiss on my lips and says, "Thanks, love." I walk back to my seat before I know it. He leans over inside the car and opens the door for me. I couldn't help myself. It just feels weird not opening the door for you. It's like our tradition. I smile as my face is pink. You're so cheesy, you know? He looks at me and replies, "You love it." Yes, I do, I say before lying my head on his shoulder in defeat. We're getting closer to our destination, and the road and buildings surrounding look so familiar, like I've driven down this road a million times. But this was strange because my parents never lived in this part of town, and our apartment was nowhere near here. My brain felt a weird haze, as if I remember this place, but I can't pinpoint it. Does this road look familiar? I ask Nick while tickling his arm gently. No, I don't think I've ever been to this part of town. Why, love? I don't know, I mumbled. As we kept driving, I only got more and more annoyed at all these sudden reminders of this road, but I couldn't figure it out. I just laid my face into his neck and ignored the road. Nick's perspective. As we reached our destination, Charlie's words made sense. Oh, fuck. This was the hospital Charlie had his diagnosis at. All his checkups and all his overnight stays. This was the hospital he experienced some of the hardest times in his life. Shit, I mumbled. Charlie hadn't noticed where we were because his head was still tucked into my neck. He tried pulling his head up, but I put my hand on it gently and directed his head back down. I stroked his hair and thought about what I should say or do. Should I turn around and leave? Maybe that would be best. Nick, we need to go. Why are we just sitting here? I softly said, We're at your old hospital. He pulled his head up and looked around, taking it all in. Charlie's perspective. I was taken back at the sight of this horror house. This was the place where I had to sit and think for days about how I've hurt the others in my life with my relapses. I had to endure my mom's constant nagging, and I was trapped. I couldn't escape the hospital bed. Her words would make me bawl my eyes out uncontrollably. Then she would scoff or laugh and tell me how dramatic I was. I hated her for it. And I still might. I can still hear her telling me, you need to think about your family's feelings too, not just your own. Stop being such a selfish brat. You have everyone worried over your attention-seeking behavior. God, thinking about it made me upset. She always seemed to attack me when I was at my most vulnerable. I snap out of my thoughts and say, yeah, this is proper shit. He takes the car out of park and says, okay, we're going home. I put my hand on his arm and respond, no, you need to go. It's important, but I might just stay in the car or drive down the street to a different parking lot. I don't think I can go in there. He smiles. Thank you for telling me the truth and not feeling like you're being an inconvenience to me. Okay, I'll go and text you when I'm done. If you can text me 5 minutes before you're done, just so you don't have to wait. And if you're up for it, after you can tell me all about it, or not, if that's okay. I love you. He kisses me on the forehead and says, I love you too, babe, before leaving the car. Nick's perspective. Right as I left the car, I wished that I could just run back and use Charlie as a shield. I wished that every ounce of my body that I could just run into his arms and he could hold me tight, but this would help me, and I needed to just get it over with. I needed to face this head on for me and Charlie's sake. Chapter 64. Hospital Visit. Nick's perspective. I walked through the doors, hands clenched, heart rate increased, head spinning. I sat down in the waiting room, and my mind immediately darted to Charlie, and if he was okay. After seeing what happened to Charlie when we went to go visit Elle in the hospital after her surgery, made me feel uneasy. He had a panic attack, for God's sake. Was that happening right now? After waiting for what felt like forever, I realized I was doing it again. I needed to trust him. He said he was okay, and I need to believe him. But it won't hurt to text him to be sure. Nick. Hey darling, is everything okay? Charlie. Yep, I drove down the street and parked in a Walmart parking lot. Nick. I never thought I would hear someone say that, lol. Nick. You're not panicking, are you? I just need to know you're okay. That was a really crap situation. Charlie. It did get me thinking about things, but I'm calm and doing fine. Nick, try not to think about it. Charlie, I will. Elle said she wanted to FaceTime, so I'll talk to her. What's going on in there? Wish I could hold your hand and be there. Nick, I'm still waiting. We could hold hands after. Don't be hard on yourself. Charlie, please update me. Love you, and I'm so proud of you. Not to sound like a cheesy parent or anything, but I'm so proud of you. Nick, I love you too, babe. Tell Elle I said hi. Nicholas Nelson? The receptionist called. I walked over to the front desk, and she escorted me into the hall and towards a room. Once I entered the small room, the doctor tapped the bed that was lined with paper to keep it clean. I would have much rather have sat down in a seat because I didn't need any physical examination, but doctors always seem to insist you sit on the bed. Okay, Mr. Nelson, I'm Dr. Palm. I'll be reading out some information your lovely counselor has provided me, and could you please tell me if this is all correct? I nodded. I felt my voice might shake if I spoke. In high school, I found it easy to talk to people and to be outgoing. I still am, but when it comes to hospital stuff and talking about mental illness, I'm nervous and shy. I know how hard it is for Charlie to do simple everyday things because of mental illness, and how much pain and damage it's done to him. Maybe that's why it scares me. I've seen firsthand how awful and detrimental it can be to a person's life. Tell me, do your hands shake or your legs move unintentionally when Charlie's not around because you're anxious or worried? Do you have an uneasy or on edge feeling when he's not around? Do you constantly think in a worried manner about everything when he's not around? Wow, that's a lot, but I've answered all of these questions before. I open my mouth to answer, but nothing comes out. I must look like such a moron right now. I try again. Yes, to all the questions. My words were stuttering, and my fists were clenching harder and harder, digging into my skin. Dr. Palm then said, "It's okay to be nervous. Just take it slow. When Charlie's not around, are you, totally out of breath, heart rate shoots up, and you feel a constant state of panic?" What she mentioned didn't sound like what I felt. It wasn't that extreme. No, I just feel like my brain won't turn off, and I'm worrying like crazy, but I don't feel totally panicked. My breath is regular with my heart rate, and I don't so much feel panicked, but flustered or anxious. She nodded and started scribbling down notes. She asked a few more questions, and I answered them, honestly telling her in as much detail as I possibly could without stuttering. My face was bright red from embarrassment after how I acted. I was a mess, and it showed. She had left the room to grab something which I was hoping wasn't a prescription. I didn't want to take any medication. I've been reading about some medication prescribed to people who suffer from different types of anxiety, and it can change your behavior, sleep, and eating patterns completely. I hate change, and I don't want my whole life to change over this. She comes back into the room holding what I was dreading, a pill bottle. So I've gone ahead and prescribed you a week's worth of these pills that are a very light dose of anxiety medication. I want you to try these out by taking one every day for a week. After that, you'll tell me how they worked. Your case is very minor, and this isn't too much of a problem, but it can get there. That's why we need to take steps forward. If the pills work, then I'll give you a whole bottle. If you won't take them every day, only when you need it, and you're feeling anxious about being away from Charlie, another important note is that you can't take these for any other reason, only when you're feeling anxious about not being around Charlie. It's important to not become dependent on these pills, to manage everyday anxieties. Although I didn't want to take pills, I didn't mind because they weren't an everyday pill. They were only when I felt I needed them. I had full control. I did hate the thought of having to take them for a week straight every day, but it was only 1 week. I could manage. I texted Charlie and waited out front for him to pick me up. He pulled up beside me and jumped out of the car and opened the passenger side for me. I guess he was driving. I didn't complain. I didn't have the energy to drive anyway. I got in and shut the door behind me. He then jumped in the driver's seat and started to drive, then looked at me, eager to know what happened. "So, how did it go?" he asked in an eager tone. I sat and thought about how embarrassing it was when I could barely speak properly. I acted like a fool and embarrassed myself. He sort of laughed a little before getting serious, running his hands down my arm. "I'm sure you're exaggerating. You did great." I half smiled before laying my head on his chest, stretching my body across the car to reach him, then closed my eyes. He ruffles my hair and plays with it a bit before saying, "We'll talk about the details later. You're tired, yeah?" I mumbled, "Mm-hmm," before falling asleep on him. Alright, that is the end of today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and comment, whether that is a comment for recommendations or whether that's a comment just saying hello. I would love to talk to you guys. Say hello to me. Be my friends. I don't know. I would love to talk to you guys. You guys are so nice, and you guys always ask great questions and everything. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Goodbye, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, friends.